My mother-in-law wakes me up at 3 every day and makes me do housework. As a result of this lifestyle, I collapse from overwork. Anyone would fall ill if they couldn't sleep. The next day, when I returned home after leaving the hospital, I found my mother-in-law standing in the doorway. Hospitalization is such an exaggeration. Young people these days. I wonder if it's because you grew up with a single parent that you're such a scumbag. I'd like to see your parents' faces. Oops, I forgot. They're gone already. My mother-in-law looked at me and laughed sardonically. She continues while I'm at a loss of words. If you're a wife, you should get up at 3 a.m. and work like you always have. I won't allow you to fall ill. If you don't like it, there's no place for you here. Get the hell out of here. At this point, I had reached the end of my patience. She woke me up every morning at 3 a.m. to make me work. And to top it all off, she made fun of my late mother. I will never forgive you. I can't be a part of this family any longer. Holding back my voice from trembling, I tried my best to speak calmly. I understand. Then I will leave. My name is Lily. I'm 31 years old. My husband Noor and I have been married for 3 years. We bought a 4-bedroom apartment when we got married and lived together there. I'm still working at the famous company I entered after graduating college, and Noor is also working for another company. To be honest, Noor's income is only 1/3 of mine, but I was fine with that. I met him about 5 years ago. I grew up in a single-parent home. My mother, who raised me single-handed, passed away of illness 6 years ago. I had no siblings, so when I was feeling lonely, one of my coworkers introduced me to Noah. He had a rather timid personality, but he was very kind to me. We had a pretty steady relationship, and I was truly happy when he proposed to me 3 years ago. Maybe it was the joy of finally having a family of my own. When I went to Noah's parents' house to greet his family for the first time, my parents-in-law welcomed me kindly. I had the first impression of a dignified father-in-law and a modest and gentle mother-in-law. They smiled at me and told me that they were very happy to see me. My mother-in-law welcomed me saying, "Lily, from now on, I want you to think of me as your real mother." "Yes, thank you. These people will be my family. I'm glad that they are kind people. I must take good care of them." I felt completely at ease and decided to marry Noah. For Christmas, right after we got married, Noah took me home with him. I was chatting with my father-in-law at the table when my mother-in-law spoke to me. "Lily, may I have a word?" "Yes, what is it?" I was led into the next room, where my mother-in-law started staring at me. "Why are you wearing your skirt today?" "What?" It was true that I was wearing a below-the-knee skirt that day. It wasn't flashy or anything, just my usual attire. I wondered what was wrong. I asked my mother-in-law, and she scornfully snorted. "It's Christmas, you know. As a wife, you will have to move around a lot, won't you? You can't move around in a skirt. And it's not appropriate for a wife to start chatting happily at the table as soon as she arrives." "But Noor's father told me to." "No more excuses. Change your clothes and come to the kitchen." "Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry." That's why young people these days, you have to discipline them strictly. I left my mother-in-law, who was still mumbling, to change my clothes. I was in a cold sweat, and my heart was beating fast all the while. After that, I was made to cook in the kitchen, while my mother-in-law scolded me endlessly. "You're not a good wife if you don't bring your own apron. You're not very good at cooking either. This seasoning is disgusting. My mother-in-law happily said such words to me in the absence of my father-in-law and my husband. She was so kind to me before Noah and I got married, but she changed immediately after marriage. This is a fraud. By the time I returned home after staying one night, I was exhausted. Lily, please come visit us again. I was even terrified when my mother-in-law said this with a soft smile. Since then, whenever I visited my in-laws, I was always nagged by my mother-in-law, but I could not say anything about it to Noah. Of course, one reason was because I didn't want Noah to hate me. But more than that, if I divorced Noah right now, it would cause grief to my parents in heaven, who were so happy to see me get married. I wanted to avoid that at all costs. Fortunately, my in-laws are a few hours away by car, so the only time I see them is when Noah goes back home. I have no complaints about my life with Noah. If only we could continue to live together in peace. But that hope was soon shattered. One weekend, Noah and I were at home when suddenly the intercom rang. What? Noah's mother? I looked at the intercom screen and I froze. Noah rushed into the door. Mom, what's going on? Why are you here all of a sudden without calling? Noah asked. Then she came into the house and started crying. I divorced your father. What? Noah was obviously surprised, and his mother tearfully told us the story. Noah's father asked for the divorce out of the blue and kicked her out of the house after offering only a minimal share of the property. I'm all alone and I have nowhere to go. Noah sympathetically tells his mother as she sniffs her nose. Oh no, you have me. You can stay here as long as you want. What? My reaction unexpectedly spilled out my mouth, but Noah looked at me and said, It's alright, right, Lily? I can't leave my mom alone. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Noah. His mother gave him an overemphasized appreciation. This is how my mother-in-law and we began to live together. In the beginning, when we just started living together, she was very quiet. But after a week, she gradually revealed her true nature. I was cooking breakfast one day, and my mother-in-law scolded me in an exaggerated manner. What are you doing? What? I'm just cooking an egg. You have to cook them well for Noah. That's not good. They're too soft. Right, Noah? I looked over at Noah sitting at the dining room table. He looks happy. Yes. Your eggs are a little too soft. I never told you that before. See, I told you. Now start again. I will watch over for you this time. Oh, okay. I had to make breakfast again, and was bothered though I did not show it. After that, my mother-in-law started to nag me about my housework. Since I was also working, I always did my chores quickly. But my mother-in-law, of course, was not satisfied with that. Lily, how come you don't wipe the floor every day? Well, we do have a cleaning robot, so... You can't rely on something like that. You should clean your own floors. Okay. I had to wipe the floors of all the rooms in the middle of the night before going to bed. All the while, my mother-in-law was just standing there, watching me with her arms crossed. It was past 1 a.m. when I finished cleaning. Starting tomorrow, you will wipe the floor in all the rooms every day, right? Yes, I will. And so, my list of household chores grew and grew. My mother-in-law was home every day. But if you ask me if she does something for me, not at all. She doesn't even hang a single piece of laundry. And that's not all. Since I started living with my mother-in-law, Noah, who used to help me with the housework, stopped doing anything. Whenever Noah tries to help with the housework, his mother would stop him. Noah, you are tired from working every day, aren't you? You don't have to do that. But it's a wife's job to take care of the house, so Noah, you take it easy. Yeah, I guess that's right. Lily can do it for me. Of course she can. Lily is not a perfect wife, so I'll make sure she knows what she's doing. Oh, thanks, Mom. I was stunned to hear that conversation. I'm also working every day. I didn't know Noah was such a person. Yes, Noah was a mama's boy and was easily persuaded by her. Even so, I once appealed to Noah. Noah, I have a hard time when your mother interferes with my housework. What? Did Mom say something wrong? She's forcing me to do things her way, and I can't do all those chores by myself. Lily, are you talking bad about my mother? It's not like that, but... Just do as Mom says, and everything will be fine. You mean you can't do it all because you are slow, right? What? Take a cue from my mom. I want you to be able to do the housework well and become a good wife. Noah, who was so cooperative in the housework and so kind to me. I wondered where he had gone. I could only stare at Noah's back as he went to bed in disbelief. After that, I continued to cook 3 meals a day for the 3 of us. I was busy with cleaning up, sweeping up, and doing laundry too. The dishwasher and cleaning robot were banned, so I was forced to do everything with my hands. Then, there was wiping the floor, ironing, and shoe shining for Noah added to the list. It was almost 2 a.m. when I went to bed every night. This was affecting my work as well. It became hard to get up in the morning. I had trouble concentrating and had headaches. It was hard to get work done, and I make more mistakes. My boss suggested that I was slacking off, and I was depressed by his words. I felt that if I continued like this, I would not be able to sustain myself physically and mentally. So I decided to talk to my mother-in-law directly. I would do the housework properly on weekends. So can't you let me go to bed early during the week? If I don't, I won't be able to continue working. Well, okay. Why don't you go to bed early tonight? Is that okay? But you will have to do at least some of the housework, doing the dishes and ironing. I will cut you a break for tonight there. Thank you. I finished my chores in a great hurry. I was able to go to bed at 11 that night. For the first time in a long time, I could sleep peacefully until morning. I was so relieved that I fell asleep right away. But a few hours later, Lily! My mother-in-law shouted and shaking my body to wake me up. I jumped out of the bed, flustered. What is it? Why are you in our bedroom? Why? Because it's time to get up. What? I looked at my clock in a panic and saw that it was 3 a.m. It was still dark outside. I protested in a whisper, trying not to wake Noah, who was snoring next to me. It's only 3 a.m. I usually wake up at 6:30 a.m. What are you talking about? You went to bed yesterday without wiping the floor. Do it now. What? If you go to bed early, you get up early and do the housework. That's wife's job. My mother-in-law tugged on my arm and made me come to the hallway. There was already a bucket and a rug ready in the hallway. Please, are you serious? Of course I am. Come on. You'll be late if you don't do it quickly. When you're done wiping the floor, the next thing to do is Noah's shoe and the toilet. Okay. I'm going to sleep again, so make sure you get it done. And don't cut corners when making breakfast. Make sure it's ready as always. Yes, ma'am. I crawled on my knees and wiped the floor. My head was foggy and my body felt very heavy. Still, I had no choice but to mindlessly do the housework like a robot. I finished the floor, and from there I went on to do Noah's shoes and the toilet. Then I made breakfast. Noah and his mother woke up at 7 o'clock. They began to eat breakfast gracefully.
Oh, breakfast today comes with dessert. I feel something was missing every morning.
As Noah ate his breakfast happily, his mother said to him,
Lily couldn't wake up by herself, so I had to wake her. Really? Come on, Lily. You should have woken up by yourself.
It was like our conversation from somewhere far away. From the next day, my mother-in-law started waking me up at 3 a.m. Each time, she told me to do the chores in detail, and if I didn't keep everything up, she would complain to me. I slept less than 4 hours a night, and I had chronic headaches and nausea. After 3 weeks of living like this, I reached my limit. One day, I collapsed at work and was rushed to the emergency room. I had been asleep in the hospital bed for more than 6 hours. When I woke up, Noah was at my side.
Hey, what are you doing overworked?
I couldn't believe my ears at the sound of Noah's grumpy voice. What?
You know, because you weren't there, Mom had to take care of the housework. Don't you feel sorry for her?
Noah, what are you talking about?
Just come home. Don't burden Mom any more than you already have.
After saying that, Noah walked out to the hospital room. I could do nothing but stare at his back in dismay. The next day, when I returned home after leaving the hospital, I found my mother-in-law standing in the doorway.
Lily, how can you leave the house for a whole day?
I was overworked and in the hospital. Didn't you hear?
Hospitalization is such an exaggeration. Young people these days.
Anyone would fall ill if they couldn't sleep.
Shut up. I wonder if it's because you grew up with a single parent that you are such a scumbag. I like to see your parents' faces. Whoops, I forgot. They are gone already.
My mother-in-law looked at me and laughed sardonically. She continues while I'm at loss of words.
If you're a wife, you should get up at 3 a.m. and work like you always have. I won't allow you to fall ill.
What?
If you don't like it, there's no place for you here. Get the hell out of here.
At this point, I had reached the end of my patience. She woke me up every morning at 3 a.m. to make me work, and to top it all off, she made fun of my late mother. I will never forgive you. I can't be a part of this family any longer. Holding back my voice from trembling, I tried my best to speak calmly. I understand. Then I will leave.
What?
I walked past my mother-in-law with her eyes widened and gathered up my belongings. I didn't listen to what my mother-in-law was saying and left. A month later, I walked out of the office after work to see Noah and his mother with their faces red. They were screaming about something, so I had no choice but to go into a nearby cafe to listen to what they had to say.
Lily, what the hell is this?
Noah held up a signed divorce paper. What do you mean? As you can see, I want a divorce.
Divorce? I thought you would come back after rethinking, but how can you say something so outrageous?
To Noah, who was spitting on me as he gets closer, I say, your mother said to me, if you can get up at 3 a.m. to do the housework, then you have to leave. So that's what I did. Why don't you just do what we tell you?
My mother-in-law intervened, but I ignored her. Noah, just get a divorce.
I will not agree to that.
What is that? Because you're in need of money, right? Noah stiffened at my words.
What? Money? What is she talking about, Noah?
By her reaction, my mother-in-law did not know what we were talking about. I told her to make everything clear. Oh, I see you didn't know that Noah's annual income is only 1/3 of mine.
Huh?
I continued to my astonished mother-in-law. With Noah's income, he would not be able to support you or even pay the mortgage on the house. That's why he refuses a divorce.
That can't be.
My mother-in-law looked at me and Noah alternately. Noah pleaded me with a very pale face.
Please, Lily, come back.
Do you remember what you said when I collapsed? You never worried about me, and you always took your mother's side. How can I be married to someone like that?
Well,
I will never forgive your mother for what she did to me, nor forgive you for just watching that silently. Not to mention the division of property, but I'm going to demand compensation for my mental anguish, so be prepared.
Huh? How am I supposed to pay for that?
Then I will do whatever it takes, even go to court. From now on, please contact me through my lawyer. I held out my lawyer's business card to Noah. He stared at it, sweating like a pig. Then, my mother-in-law suddenly clung to my arm.
Wait a minute! How are we going to live? Lily, please help us!
I shook off her hands vigorously.
I don't care. You sowed the seeds, so do something about it yourself.
With that, I left the coffee shop, leaving the two of them pale-faced. Afterwards, Noah cried to me, telling me that he can't pay the alimony. We agreed to sell the house and to give me that money plus all of his savings. We finally got divorced. Noah and his mother ended up in a shabby apartment. My mother-in-law gave up on Noah and tried to get her ex-husband to help them, but she was kicked out. I was later told that Noah's mother did very little housework at home. Noah's father was fed up with her two-faced personality, that he was the one to suggest the divorce. After her ex-husband shooed her away, Noah's mother still lives with her son, who has no savings. The only thing that has changed is that she started working a part-time job early in the morning at the factory. I hope she will take this opportunity to reflect on all the times she has mistreated me. I, on the other hand, have found a new house and I'm living a pretty good life. I'm happy to do my housework for only myself and sleep soundly every night. But that's not all. Recently, one of my coworkers asked me to be his girlfriend. He said he had been in love with me for a long time, but he had given up on it because I was married. Then he heard about my divorce and opened up about how he had always felt. He is rumored to be sincere and earnest, so I'm starting by going on a dinner date with him. I would like to strive for a good, positive life from now on. Thank you for watching. My name is Emily Ditmore. I was supposed to be an ordinary housewife who could be found anywhere. I have no idea how things turned out the way they did. The newly built house I was living in is no longer in my possession. The company where I used to work is gone, and a new house is being built in its place. I live more than 100 miles away from my former residence, all by myself. In just a little over a year, my life has changed drastically. Despite the sorrow, my mind is somehow refreshed and clear. Something tumultuous happened in my life. I turned 50 this year. Most women in their 50s would be enjoying a second life with their husbands after their children have become independent, or having new pleasures after the birth of grandchild.
Others may be enjoying solitary life to the fullest. As for me, I was working for a wholesale company owned by my ex-husband, whom I married when I was 25 years old. It was originally started by my father-in-law, who passed away 10 years after we were married. My husband Scott, who was 35 at the time, took over the company. I had a different job that I had been working for a long time, but I resigned at the same time he took over the family business. We decided to run the company together as a couple. There was no hesitation in me. I thought it was normal for a married couple to support each other. I had seen Scott making tremendous efforts to take over the business even though he was young. Let's work together from now on. And so began our united couple operation. There were 7 employees besides us and 2 part-timers for a total of 11. Since Scott took over, sales had been increasing every year, albeit slightly. We expanded our clientele more than my father-in-law's time and took small jobs within the community. Those things probably led to better results. The business was doing well, but we had a different problem. That was, we couldn't afford any more treatment. We were unable to conceive. The cause was somewhat mutual, but we were told that it was manageable with treatment. No matter how hard we tried, from the time I was 30 until 40 for 10 years, the stork never came. Considering our age, we discontinued treatment at 40. We made a decision to be happy with the 2 of us. Scott understood, and although it was hard for me, too, I had given up. And yet,
What? You can't give me a grandchild? What about the heir? I can't be a grandmother? How are you going to take a blame for my son not being able to be a father because of you? Shame on you for abandoning your duty as a woman.
my mother-in-law Jackie was the kind of person who said things like that to rub salt in my wounds. We had a relatively good relationship in the beginning.
I wanted to have a daughter, but I couldn't. So I consider you as my daughter.
She was sweet and treated me like her own. Our relationship deteriorated when I started going to infertility treatment.
Why does it cost so much money to have a baby?
She was in a state of disgust. At that time, infertility treatment was not covered by insurance and was indeed expensive. She was, to put it nicely, thrifty and careful, or, to put it worse, a cheapskate. That was why she was against us spending thousands of dollars on the treatment. She even pressured me to have a boy if I was to spend that kind of money. When she received a notice of termination of the treatment, she went into a rage. She told me to get a divorce and move out and called me a social misfit and an unfit woman. If Scott had not been there, I wonder what would have happened to me. It gave me a shiver up my spine. Despite what happened, Scott never mentioned a divorce.
Keep us a good work for the company.
He relied on me to continue doing my best. Our marriage was still going strong. One incident changed all that. Scott came home from work and excitedly showed me a flyer. A newly built house? 15 minutes drive to the shopping center. 3 bedrooms with a big yard and a 2-car garage. Wow, it's a pretty nice house. Despite the good location and perfect size, the real estate company was struggling to find a buyer. What was going on with such a nice house?
Hey honey, let's buy this house.
I'd love to, but can we get a good mortgage at our age?
I'm going to ask the bank tomorrow. The monthly loan will be tough, but our business is stable. I'm sure we can pay it off.
It was true that the loan payment was going to be tough. I agreed with Scott, who was enthusiastic about the idea that it was a small price to pay for a place where we could live in peace for the rest of our lives. We could get rid of our rental living and have a house of our own.
It was pretty exciting. Once we decided, everything fell into place quickly. Scott talked with the bank and easily obtained a loan. How did you get a loan?
I have a good credit score, so I managed to get a 15-year.
Considering his age, it was the best he could get.
I will leave the household finances to you as before. I will focus on increasing the company's sales to repay the loan.
Got it. We'll do our best. And so we became house owners. At about the same time we bought the house, that infectious virus broke out on a global scale. We were greatly impacted by it. Our business partners were forced to close their offices, and because of that, our business dropped drastically. We stayed home more often as there were fewer days with work. We thought that we just needed to be a little patient. We discussed how we would go through this, but then one day,
Emily, open the door.
My evil mother-in-law came to see us. She took an hour by train to come all the way to our house, even though we were being told to refrain from going out. She didn't seem to have any purpose for her visit.
It's so hard to breathe wearing a mask every day.
Ever since we moved into our new house, she had been visiting us frequently. For some reason, her visit increased even more since the call to stay at home. Jackie, in this day and age, I don't think it's safe for you to visit us so often. I was worried about what my neighbors thought, and I didn't want to get sick either. Despite the fact that the whole country, or even the whole world, was trying to keep everyone in the house, she was not at all concerned. She had not the slightest interest in listening to me though.
What did you say? I came to check on you guys because I was worried. You are terrible to say such a thing to your family.
And then she repeated my exact words to Scott.
Hey!
He raised his voice and looked at me and Jackie.
I can't believe you said that.
I expected him to tell her to go home.
That's terrible of you, Emily.
What? Me?
Honey, how could you say that to my mom? She came all the way to check on us.
In 25 years of marriage, I had never seen him like that. He had always stayed out of our feud. If anything, he defended me. The company's sales had plummeted and the future was uncertain. I understood that he was under a lot of stress from the financial uncertainty that had built up after we had just purchased a house. Even so, I was surprised at the unexpected turn of events. Jackie became defiant when he joined her.
That's right. I care about you as a family, but your attitude is terrible.
She enjoyed scolding me. Then, Scott uttered something ridiculous.
Mom, you're the kindest person I've ever met. I'm not sure if Emily and I can stay married in the future. If the company goes under, I don't think we'll be able to pay the mortgage. I can't sleep at night thinking about it, but she's so cold to me. Don't worry, I will take care of it. Don't worry. Yeah, thanks, Mom.
What did he mean by I was cold? Okay, even if I disregarded that, I couldn't ignore that a middle-aged man was pouting like a baby. I felt more creeped out than angry. I felt a shiver running down my spine, being reminded of the mother complex character in a comedy skit. From then on, he became completely brainwashed by Jackie. She came over every day without notice and stayed beside Scott the whole time.
A wife is not a part of the family after all. The only people you can trust are your blood relatives. Yes, that's right, Mom. Thanks to you, I feel like I can do my best from now on.
The mother and son holding hands. What a wonderful love between parent and child. Jackie was like a virus. As she visited us every day, slowly but surely, Scott's mind was eaten away. I like this house indeed. It's also close to the supermarket and the hospital. Oh, Emily, I'm I'm going to take a shower soon. Please put out my underwear and towel. Before I knew it, she had become a resident of the house. There was no word of discretion in her mind. In fact, she even had real power in the household. Let's put a handrail on the stairs. It's hard to go up and down.
Yes, I agree. Is there anything else inconveniencing you?
Well, the little step in the shower. It's dangerous if I trip on it, so it should be removed. Why is there only a bathroom on the first floor? It would be better to have one on the second floor. She blurted out her selfish request triumphantly. Well, with all due respect, we are already strapped for cash with a mortgage payment. I don't really feel the need for a railing. Then not only she, but also Scott glared at me. What nonsense are you talking about? This is my house now. I deserve to have a comfortable living space. Excuse me? I don't like inconsiderate people. Do you know your position? You're nothing more than an ornament in this house. An ornament? What the hell did that mean? Scott followed to explain.
Emily, you don't know how I feel. If I had a child, I'm sure my life would look much brighter now. In this pandemic, my business isn't going well. If I had stayed home alone with you, I would have gone crazy. You don't even try to understand how I feel and just exist in the house as a so-called wife.
His statements were laced with hatred. Are you saying it's all my fault?
Yes, it is. I'm only getting by because my mom's here.
I got it. I was seen as less valuable than my sarcastic, stingy, and selfish mother-in-law. She was so good at brainwashing him that she could be a guru of a cult. Even though he was her own son, she easily tamed a grown man.
If you don't like living here, get out. I don't have room to support you anyway.
He stood up and pointed to the front door. Jackie leaned back on the sofa as if she were a queen and said, You know what, Emily? You should learn to be kind to your husband and his mother. Maybe that's why you couldn't have a baby. That had nothing to do with it. Her last comment put a dagger in my heart that had been somehow managing to hold on. That was the only time that I had ever cried until the tears dried out. The next day and the day after that, no matter how many times I wiped away the overflowing tears, my heart was heavy. When I became exhausted from crying and calmed down, a resolution was born in me. I'm leaving. Won't you regret it?
Hell no.
Scott snickered at me. Okay. I made up my mind then. I'm ready to say goodbye to you. At that moment, I became a warrior. I packed my bags and left the house immediately. I will never work at your company again. Jackie was at the door to see me off. Don't ever come back. Here is a parting gift. I checked the contents of the manila envelope and struck a gut-punching pose in my mind. I nodded slightly to her in a graceful manner and left the place. I had kept my savings from my single days and inheritance of my parents, who had passed away 10 years before. I was able to get a place to live and took time to think about what to do next. Just a few months after I left.
Hey, what have you done?
What are you talking about? Scott came to me in a panic. I grinned in my mind. He must have regretted his decision. If he hadn't teamed up with his mother to neglect his wife, none of that would have happened.
Why do I have $2,500 in loan repayment every month? You never told me.
Ranting in tears, he had lost weight in just a few months and had aged at least by 10 years. Look, we were going to pay off the $400,000 loan in 15 years. Of course, we have to pay back that much every month.
But it was $1,300 until now, right? Why the sudden doubling?
Can you use your brain sometimes? I don't live in that house, so why should I keep paying?
What?
Why do you think it's normal for me to pay the mortgage when I don't even live there? Do you think that just because I'm your wife, I'm obligated to pay for it?
But you're my wife.
He must have thought that wives were slaves or something. Well, I thought to hear him out.
The orders have stopped coming in at once. I knew it was inevitable in this situation, but I received almost no order last month. Even some of our old clients have cut me off.
Oh yeah, I know. Those are stores in the shopping center and a supermarket in front of the station, right?
You know about that?
Of course I knew. The clients politely called me and told me that they were sorry, but they were going to quit using his service. I even laughed when I heard their reason.
How did you find out?
I pity you for having your business ruined by your own mother.
What does my mom have to do with it?
It was simple. Jackie bad-mouthed me in the neighborhood, at the supermarket, at the hospital, and everywhere. In the unusual pandemic situation, it was normal to be careful when talking with people, and yet, she was cursing me out in a loud and vulgar manner. She even tried to go to the neighbor's house to have a chit-chat. She did whatever she wanted. Because of her, he himself and even the company's credibility deteriorated.
A man who kicks out his wife, who has supported the business and protect his crazy mother is not worthy of trust. We have taken every precaution to avoid catching the virus, but that old woman had ruined it.
I informed the clients who called me. The company may not be around much longer. Coming from someone who was involved in the management, they took my words seriously and stopped dealing with Scott's business. There was more disaster for him.
The employees are leaving one after another. We don't have enough staff to look for new clients.
It's inevitable since the company is on the verge of collapse, isn't it? They have lives to lead, and they don't want to go down together.
But that's so heartless.
I decided not to harm him anymore and kept quiet about his employees who had asked me for advice about resigning. One of them even told me that they were not so stupid as to follow a boss who kicked his wife out at the behest of such an evil mother. I guess that it wasn't necessary to mention to him.
What am I going to do? What should I do now?
I have no clue.
I didn't do anything wrong, but somehow things are getting worse. Why is that?
Well, if you didn't do anything wrong, why can't things work out? I repeated back his words, and he grew impatient and angry.
How can you act like this have nothing to do with you? What a heartless woman you are when your husband is such trouble.
I had finally reached the limit of my patience with him, who was egocentric and insensitive. You know, who made me such a heartless wife? Didn't you and your mother turn me into your enemy? Are you stupid for dreaming that I will always be on your side?
Stupid?
Yes, you're brainless. I'm the same as your employees. I'm not going to fall with you. Then I showed him something I had been keeping for a long time. I'm finally going to file this. It was a petition for divorce Jackie had given me as a parting gift.
How did you get that?
Your mother gave it to me. I really appreciate her for this one. She gave me an ace in the hole.
Wait, I wrote that as a joke and didn't mean it.
His lamentations were in vain. With a piece of paper, we were going to be strangers. In the end, he had to let go of that company. He couldn't pay the mortgage on the house and paid the remaining debt with the money from the sale. I heard it wasn't enough and he was working to pay back the loan. The relationship between him and his mother deteriorated. When he came out from her brainwashing, he blamed her to the extreme.
My life is ruined because of you. If it weren't for you, you witch!
How dare you call me that? I'm your mother. Because of you, I lost Emily in my company. You're a witch. What are you talking about? You hated her too. It's not just my fault. You should have put a collar on her. They argued loudly every night and caused a commotion in the neighborhood. They blamed each other, but they were exactly the same. In the end, they parted ways and stopped talking to each other. Jackie was quite shocked that her only son cut her off. I heard that she became a soulless invalid and was living alone in her apartment. I wondered if she had any remorse. Maybe she no longer even understood anything. As for me, I would have been lost without you. Thank you so much. That's not true. I just introduced you to a company that was looking for the qualifications you had. I helped an ex-employee at Scott's company find a new job. How do you know so much about recruitment? Before I started helping Scott, I worked for an HR consulting firm. That was already 15 years ago. I'm glad I got certified back then. I never thought it would be so useful. I'm now working as a career consultant. My job is to help clients to find suitable jobs, but that's not all. There are people who have to work for various reasons in the world. I'm a housewife, but my husband is having an affair. I thought I can't go on like this. I'm hoping to find a job and become independent. Many desperate people come to me for advice. My job is to think together with such clients and find the best option for them. I never say things like, "Your husband is a jerk. You should leave right now." A consultant's job is to listen to what they have to say and to be close to their thoughts and feelings. However, it is also my nature as a middle-aged woman to want to say, "Just get a divorce. You will feel so much better like me." I got kicked out by my ex-husband of 25 years, lost my job, and then divorced. I may look pitiful in people's eye, but I don't feel sad. In fact, I feel happy. The reason for this is, thank you for listening to me. I'm going to start a new life. I have clients who appreciate me.